Yoga Nidra is a very powerful tranquilizer, a tranquilizer without any side effect. A tranquilizer for your anxiety, stress, anger. So another aspect of yoga is called as a Kundalini Yoga, the Tantric Yoga techniques, where there are practices, Kundalini Yoga practices, where you raise the Kundalini energy, which is the base of the spine. It is like a coiled snake. Ideally, you should do 30 minutes of yoga, asanas, and 20 minutes of pranayama, and 10 minutes of either shavasana, yoga nidra, or meditation. That should be the progression. Good morning, everyone. This is my fourth session on pranayama and immunity. Before I start the session, I would like to seek the blessings and guidance of my teachers and my Guru. I'll say a small prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sachal Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. I was initiated into yoga some 17 years ago by this amazing teacher, Rashmi Mathur. I trained under her for almost 3 years. Then I moved to Bangalore. She was from the Shivananda Ashram. I was still connected with her when I was in Bangalore. After about 8 or 9 years of practice, I remember asking her one day whether I was ready to teach yoga. I was quite surprised when she told me that I'm not. What she told me was that I'm ready to teach asanas, but not yet yoga. So I still don't know if I'm ready for yoga teaching yet. I'm trying. You will all be surprised to know why I'm sitting on a sofa today. The reason being that I've been getting a lot of queries asking, is it compulsory to sit on the floor? No, it's not. If you're not comfortable sitting on the floor, you can choose a sofa, a bed, or a stool, whichever is comfortable, or a chair. The only condition being that your spine needs to be erect. You can either sit with both the feet on the ground, or you can sit with one foot up. As I said, push into the perineum. It has got a lot of advantages, yogic advantages, psychic advantages. You can put a small cushion behind your back so that you don't tilt back. Your spine is more erect. If you don't have a cushion at the back, you tend to fall back. We don't want to lean back. So the idea is to put a small cushion just behind your back, not underneath, just behind. A little bit, push it inside, so your spine is erect. Or you can sit with both the feet up. I'll sit like this. You can sit whichever way is more comfortable for you. Why we should sit erect? Why we should have the spine erect? I mentioned that the whole focus of yoga is to rise the energies, the prana, from the lower chakras, the Muladhara chakras, to higher centers. When you say yoga, means union of the Jivatma from the lower layers to the Paramatma, individual consciousness to cosmic consciousness. You also say Prakriti to Purusha. So the whole concept is to work towards rising this energy to higher levels. So for the energy to rise to higher levels, your spine needs to be erect because the energy rises through the Sushmana Nadi, the Nadi which flows through the center of the spine. So another aspect of yoga is called as a Kundalini Yoga, the Tantric Yoga techniques, where there are practices, Kundalini Yoga practices, where you raise the Kundalini energy, which is the base of the spine. It is like a coiled snake, full of potential. And if you are able to raise that energy through the Sushmana Nadi to the Sahasrara Chakra, that is what you want to achieve. So it's important that you sit erect. And if you still think that I need to lean back, lean back. but ensure that your spine is erect. Alright, now the thing comes when to do the pranayama. The ideal time to do the pranayama would be in the morning, because most of the pranayama require your stomach to be empty. Or if you want to do it in the evening is also fine, provided after your lunch or the last meal you have about 4 hours. Bhastrika, Kapalabhati, Anulom Vilom, Nadi Shodhana should be done on when the stomach is empty. But the other pranayama which we did, the Brahmari, the Ujjayi pranayama, Sitali, Sitkari, can be done depending on a need. Like as Sitali and Sitkari is for cooling down and for anger management. Ujjayi pranayama is a meditative tool. Brahmari can be used for headaches and insomnia. So based on all that. But then Bhastrika and Kapalabhati should be done on an empty stomach. What to wear? Unlike doing asanas where you can wear your track pants, try to wear clothes which are loose. I've got this nice yoga pant. I'll just stand up and show you. It's a very comfortable yoga pant. I would like to thank my daughter-in-law's sister, Smita Aradhya, for this nice outfit. She got it from me from Colombo. It has got a whole set. So wear nice clothes. Where to sit? Ideally where there is, you get a lot of fresh air. Because you're going to breathe in a lot of air. And pranayama is always done after asanas. How much time should I spend for pranayama? Remember, if you want to use asanas for physical exercise, it's a good form. But it's like saying that I'm using the mobile phone only for making calls. The mobile phone has got a range of functions. Similarly, the yoga techniques have got a range of functions. You can use it just for exercise, well and good. But it has got so many other benefits. So if you want to do it, if you are giving 1 hour every day for your yoga practice, ideally you should do 30 minutes of yoga, asanas, and 20 minutes of pranayama, and 10 minutes of either shavasana, yoga nidra, or meditation. That should be the progression. I've seen a lot of people spending a lot of time only on asanas and giving very little time to pranayama or to meditation. The whole package is that you do all three. So you can pick up about 40 asanas, and you don't have to do all the asanas every day. You can do about 10 asanas, which will take you about 30 minutes, and then do pranayama for about 20 minutes, depending on your need. There are times where you have to use the Ujjayi pranayama for a longer time if you have got anxiety, stress issues, or if you have got certain conditions, like if you want to use Bhastrika for diabetes, then you have to use Bhastrika for a longer time. So depending on the need, you can use the duration. So we practiced a lot of pranayama. The first one we practiced was Bhastrika. I said Bhastrika first because Bhastrika, I said earlier, it is using a diaphragmatic breathing. You're breathing in and breathing out with the same force. Let me demonstrate. You can use it slowly initially where you are aware your stomach is going out. I've seen a lot of people pushing the hand up. It's fine as long as you're not putting your stomach inside. The tendency is that when you push your arms up, your stomach seems to go inside. The ideal thing would be to sit where your shoulders don't move. I'm not doing, I'm just doing. I can increase the speed, I can do, or I can do it very fast, I can do. It's like a bellow. It's like pushing the air out and drawing the air in. It's like a vacuum cleaning. you're vacuum cleaning your whole respiratory system. I told you inside your lung, you're breathing only 500 ml while the capacity is 6000 ml. You're just using 8% of the capacity of the lung. So when you're doing this, you are drawing in more air. Instead of drawing just 500 ml, but we call as a tidal volume, we are using a lot more space. So Bhastrika helps in cleansing the whole respiratory system. It's a good pranayam for those with asthma. Because of the diaphragmatic movement, it's moving very vigorously up and down. It sort of stimulates and improves the blood circulation for all visceral organs. Your intestines, your liver, your pancreas, your spleen. The heart gets a nice massage because it moves up and down very fast. It moves the lower lobes of the liver down along as it goes down. So it sort of stimulates the whole area. So it is used as a treatment for many of the ailments in this area: diabetes, cardiovascular issues, constipation. On the pranic level, Bhastrika Pranayam cleanses the nadis, energizes the whole nadis. So we start with Bhastrika. You should start doing it for maybe 1 minute, and ideally you should reach about 5 minutes. I said that moment you do Bhastrika, it sort of heats up your whole system. It improves metabolism, so it can be used as a treatment for obesity. Because your system gets heated up, you do a cooling pranayama, which is called Sitali Pranayama. Sitali Pranayama is just rolling your tongue. You're breathing in and breathing out through the nose. You're wetting your tongue, using the tongue to evaporate the air, and you're pulling the whole cool air inside. On a very warm day, you can use pranayama to cool down. I said a word of caution: if you've got a cold or a throat infection, don't do this as pranayama because it cools it down rapidly. So we did the Bhastrika, we did the Sitali Pranayama, then we moved to the Anulom Vilom or the Nadi Shodhana. I said Nadi Shodhana Pranayama is basically to cleanse the Nadi, to remove any energy blocks. I had compared the whole pranic system, the prana flowing through your body, like a very wild, forceful river, uncontrolled. It is just flowing into the sea. So pranayama is all about preserving or harnessing this energy that is flowing through you, because you are continuously losing prana. I mentioned that prana is a life energy or the life force. Comparing it to the battery in your car, the petrol you put is the fuel, the battery and the electrical circuit is the energy. Similarly in your body, the food we eat is the fuel, but for all your system to function, the cardiovascular, the digestive, the respiratory, the endocrine, the autonomic nervous system, at the cellular level there is something triggering it off. The energy is the prana, and pranayama is your charger. Remember, the best of the cars, if there is no battery, you cannot start it till you recharge the battery or change the battery. The best of the iPhones, if there is no battery, you cannot use it. So for you, you have your charger with you, that is your pranayama. The pranayama charges your pranic pathways. I said the easiest way to access the prana is breath. That's why I use breath to control the pranayama. As the river flows down with full force, if you want to harness it for irrigation, we need to build canals. So the canals are the mudras. This is one mudra, the chin mudra. I said there are a number of mudras. You can learn about it, or I'll do a separate class on it. The simple mudra to sit is the chin mudra or the jnana mudra. Just two fingers together. Initially you can lock them. Later stage you can just, the tips touches like this. So the mudras are the channels which flow the river harness it. So here I am keeping a loop where the prana is flowing back into my body. There's one more loop I've created here. Again the prana is flowing back into the body. When you have a river flowing and if you want to harness it, we would build dams. The dams are called as bandhas. But if you build a dam on a river that is very forceful, it can just destroy the dam and cause havoc. So we build small check dams. We build check dams by doing what we call as kumbhakas. So when you do the Nadi Shodhana Pranayama or Anulom Vilom, you're breathing through one side, holding the breath, breathing out through the other side. Again breathing through here, holding it, breathing out through the other side. So initially you start with a ratio. You breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4. So when you hold the prana inside, you're preventing the depletion of the prana. As you progress, I said not in days, not even in months, very, very gradually. You have to build it up because you're working with a very powerful system inside your body. You cannot suddenly go build dams and build canals. So you build it up, you breathe in for a count of 8, hold it for 16, breathe out for a count of 8. Then you increase the ratio from 1:2:1, breathe in for a count of 8, hold for a count of 8, breathe out for a count of 16. As you practice this for some time, we introduce the Bahir Kumbhaka. Bahir Kumbhaka is holding your breath outside. You breathe in for a count of 8, hold for a count of 8, breathe out for 16, and before you take the next breath, hold for a count of 8. That is called as Bahir Kumbhaka. You are again holding the prana inside, just not letting it go, just not letting it flow outside. So over a period of time, months, the final stage should be 1:4, 2:1. Simply breathe in for a count of 8, hold it for 32 counts, holding the prana for a much longer time, breathe out for 16 and hold outside for the count of 8. So the total count is 64. What we have achieved here also is that instead of breathing 15 to 20 breaths a minute, we have just taken one breath in the whole of a minute. The yogis have understood that if you breathe slower, you live longer. As per yoga, each human being is born with certain number of breaths. It could be trillions or billions, whatever it is. So if you consume it faster, your life expectancy becomes shorter. So the whole process of in yoga is that you breathe slower and slower. The yogis understood it very well. If you just look at in the animal kingdom, the cheetah has got a resting heart rate of 180 to 220. And when it runs after an animal, heart rate goes up to almost 280. And they live only for about 8 years. You look at the giant turtle or the tortoise. Their heart rate, resting heart rate is only about 10. And they live for almost 170 years. The blue whale has got a heart rate of just 6. And they're known to live beyond 217, 218 years. In yoga and pranayama, we learn to breathe slower. The yogis have discovered that when they breathe slower, their life expectancy is extended. When you breathe slower, your body metabolism comes down, your calorie intake comes down, the free radicals produced are less. So naturally, your aging becomes slower. So when you do the Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, remember to use the abdominal, the thoracic and the clavicular breathing. Because Nadi Shodhana Pranayama or Anulom Vilom itself is a meditative technique. You close your eyes and breathe in for a count of 8, hold for 16 or 32 depending on how much you've practiced. If you just focus on your breath and you're not thinking of the past or the future, you're already on a meditative state. So we started with the Bhastrika Pranayama, then we did the Sitali Pranayama to cool down, then we did the Anulom Vilom, which is a Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, cleanses the nadis and energizes the nadis. Then we do the Kapalabhati. I mentioned Kapalabhati is very similar to Bhastrika. In Bhastrika, we breathe in and breathe out with the same force. I'll just demonstrate Bhastrika once again. We're doing and breathing in and breathing out at the same force. In Kapalabhati, I'm not breathing in with the force. I'm breathing out. I'm waiting for my abdomen to come down. The diaphragm slowly comes down. And once it is full, I again do a push. And again I wait. So the distinct difference is that in Bhastrika, I'm using the same force to breathe in and breathe out. In Kapalabhati, I'm using more of an expulsion of the air than breathing in. Breathing in is passive. Breathing out is forceful. So we do. It's like a pump pushing it out. Again, there are different speeds I can do. You can use it faster. You can do it really fast. Rapid expulsion of air. This is a very beneficial because it throws out carbon dioxide rapidly from our lungs. I said the capacity of the lung is 6000 ml. The lung is never collapsed. There is always 1200 ml of air in the lung. There is something called as the expiratory reserve volume. That's about 1000 to 1200 ml air. That also has carbon dioxide, toxins and pollutants. So when you do the Kapalabhati, I'm throwing out that 1200 ml air. So when you rapidly throw out carbon dioxide, it can move your body from an acid pH to an alkaline pH. Because when there is a lot of carbon dioxide, it causes carbonic acid, which is acidic, and as you throw out more of the carbon dioxide, the body moves from an acid to an alkaline base. And there are a lot of scientific evidence that your infections are more when you are on bodies on acidic than on alkaline. Kapalabhati is also very useful if you are feeling very sleepy, especially when you want to do meditation and if you are feeling very sleepy. Do a round of Kapalabhati, which will energize you. Kapalabhati is also useful when you want to be more attentive, when you want to start studying or you want to do some work. Do Kapalabhati. Kapalabhati is also used for treatment of psychological issues, anxiety, stress. Kapalabhati also corrects the doshas, the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the imbalances of the three doshas. So once we do Kapalabhati, Kapalabhati again is a heating asana, heats up your system. So then we can do something, the cooling asana, cooling pranayama called as Sitkari. Sitkari pranayama is breathing in with a wide grin. You're breathing in through the teeth. You're breathing in through the teeth and breathing out through the nose. Give it the widest grin you ever had. Breathe in using the abdominal and thoracic breathing. This again cools down. But I mentioned a very important benefit for this. Those who get angry very fast, those who use anger as a tool to manipulate others or to control others. So every time you get angry or stressed, you are throwing your body into the fight or flight mode. There's a cascading of your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. And one of the functions of cortisol is to cut off your immune system. Just be logical. When you are running away from a tiger or when you're running away from a danger. Is digestion important? Is immunity important? No. They all take the back door. So when you're facing a danger, when you're being chased by an animal, when you're in physical stress, the cortisol and the adrenaline ensure that your body is ready for that fight or flight. It rushes all the blood into your big muscles, draining blood from your skin and your internal organs. Your digestion shuts down, your immunity shuts down. So every time you get angry at somebody, you're cutting off your immunity completely. So if you're getting angry and stressed 20, 30, 40, 100 times a day, every time you're cutting off your immune system. So one of the way to calm down immediately is to do Seethkari. Why? Because your brain, who's preparing your hypothalamus, the centers, the limbic system in the brain, is all getting ready, is releasing all these cortisols and adrenaline. Suddenly is getting a message saying that, hey, this guy is not angry anymore. He's not stressed anymore because he's smiling. Immediately there's a lot of changes, neurotransmitters change, there's a lot of change happening and you calm down. It's very simple, you can carry it around all the time, you don't need a tranquilizer. Just take a deep breath. The big grin on the face, the grin on your face is sending the wrong signals to the brain saying that you are already fine, you are happy. You are also breathing from the lower lobes of the lung, setting off the parasympathetic system as a braking system, opposite to the sympathetic system, which is the one which stimulates. As you breathe from the lower lobes of the lung, you take deep breath, you are on the parasympathetic mode. The parasympathetic is the opposite to the sympathetic, the stress reaction. So you tend to calm down. So Seethkari Pranayam. And the last one we did was, we also did something called as Ujjayi Pranayam. Ujjayi Pranayam and the next one Brahmari Pranayam. Both can be done lying down. So Ujjayi Pranayam is called as, Ujjayi means victory. Ujjayi Pranayam, I said you're breathing from the throat. You start off by practicing like this. You do, it's like checking a mirror for moisture. You're breathing from the throat. As you get comfortable with that, you're able to do the same thing with the mouth closed. I'm breathing, I'm constricting my glottis and my epiglottis. I'm breathing from here. This is a very powerful pranayam. It's very subtle but very powerful. It's used for a lot of ailments, especially psychological issues, anxiety, tension, insomnia, migraine. All these can be benefited by this. This pranayama is also used in the treatment of hypertension. You can actually check if you've got a BP apparatus at home. Put on the cuffs and you start practicing Ujjayi Pranayama for some time. You'll find a BP dropping. It could be stimulating the vagus nerve, it could be working on the baroreceptors, but it works. And the final pranayama we did was called as Brahmari. Brahmari again can be done when you're lying down. Brahmari again is very useful for migraine and insomnia. Brahmari is also very simple. Put your index fingers inside your ear. Take a deep breath. I'm breathing out with a humming tone. Brahmari means the bumblebee, making the sound like a bumblebee. I'm causing a vibration in the whole, my head, inside my head. The vibrations are not in the tip of your eyebrows or in the center of your forehead. Vibration is exactly in the center of the brain. It needs to vibrate. Your teeth is not clenched, it's slightly loose. Close your eyes and feel the vibration soothe you down. It sort of calms down the nerves. It sort of calms down the whole energy pathways. It's a very powerful powerful tool for migraine and insomnia. Every time you think you're going to get a migraine, close your eyes, sit in a dark room and just practice Brahmari for a few minutes. So I've covered almost all the important pranayamas, when to do, how to do, and the whys of it. So the next topic I would be doing is what we call as the Yoga Nidra. I said in a normal practice, you practice for 30 minutes of asanas, 20 minutes of pranayama, depending on which one you want to do more based on specific needs. And the last 10 minutes, initially you lie in savasana because you are already in a meditative mood because the last one you did was Brahmari. You can lie down, ensure that all those parts which got stretched and pulled go back. Give the body time for homeostasis. Then go back to where it was. And then we learn this very powerful tool called as Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a very powerful tranquilizer, and tranquilizer without any side effect. A tranquilizer for your anxiety, stress, anger. Yoga Nidra explores all the 16 layers of the mind. Yoga Nidra has got 8 different steps or 8 different stages. My next session will be on Yoga Nidra. So till then, see you all. Namaste.